How is again? If you haven't seen the video on my other channel, Open Source Occult TV, on current events, the sort of this what the spiritual aspects of the current situation is, you can go check that there. Also, I have a Patreon page now with this distinct purpose of making films better for Beyond Room 313, and I was planning my latest trip, but unfortunately this whole thing has locked down everything and made everything a mess. And it's not that I'm afraid of the virus so much. It's more afraid of being, I hate to be stuck in an airport for 3 days or something horrible like that. But we'll see how things go. Anyway, uh, so you can check that out if you like. Now, the link is below. Now, 2020. I hate this. I don't believe in prophecy, that, but I do believe that if you have an attenuated nervous system, either through being a serious artist, a very concentrated artist, or you work in magic, and by that I mean you could do anything, like you're very serious about astrology and tarot and things like that. You can see, I don't have coronavirus. I have something just reacted with me earlier on this morning, 8, and you can attenuate your nervous system to sort of understand the zeitgeist before it happens. I spoke about now The Simpsons is basically a function of chaos magic. And that's why so many things people say are predictive programming. They're not. They're the artists and the writers who've tapped into things coming down the line because of the extreme concentration needed in doing things like animation. And speaking of chaos magicians, Genesis P. Orridge has just passed over. So it's an interesting time. Now, a few months ago, I said that 2020 would be what people thought 2012 would be. Now, what are you saying? What are you on about? 2020 was 2012 was supposed to be a great period of lifting up of the human spirit and a new world beginning. Did you honestly believe that it was going to be Russell Brand coming down on a unicorn, throwing teddy bears at you? Did you really believe that? Firing rainbows out of his ass. Did you really believe it was going to be like that? Now, that was the New Age thing. All births are painful. And I have no doubt now, more than ever, that 2020 is what 2012, 2012 was supposed to be. It's like someone said the other day, can someone please switch off 2020 and switch it back on again, see if it starts working? Everything that's happening now is how it should be. Now, this is going to be a fairly long video, so if you're about to get on with quarantine and chill with your woman, you might want to watch this later. They basically say, hold off, babe. Now, we were long overdue a reset. Now, by reset, I don't mean necessarily someone in charge or some entity in charge pressing a button or implementing a task force or anything like that to make it happen, or some kind of thing like the Schumann resonance or some beam from galactic center was going to reset us. I subscribe quite strongly to Rupert Sheldrake's notion of morphic resonance, the idea that things unfold when they should unfold and when they're needed. And I don't only apply that towards evolutionary and biological things, I often believe it's social as well. Social things happen for a reason. We are on the cusp of a rebirth. This is what's happening right now. This is an incredibly positive thing that's going on. Now I hear people say, oh, there's people dying everywhere. Well, if you look at the statistics that came out of the Ministry of Health in Italy, all the people who died of coronavirus, except for 2, were 80 years old and over 80, and all had existing serious illnesses. The two were under 40 who died, and both of them had cancer. A common one seemed to be diabetes with many of them. Now, therefore, it's very dangerous to people who are old, but so is everything from flu, and everything else is dangerous. Normal colds will kill people. So put that into perspective. Another thing, the 5G thing and causing coronavirus is ridiculous. Now, I'm very well aware that the electromagnetic spectrum, and the power of 5G is not safe, particularly on the neurology and stuff like that, on the nervous system. And while I do accept that perhaps it could suppress the immune system and make viruses penetrate more easily, then why hasn't it done more? Why just one virus? Why isn't everyone so like dropping dead of cancer and everything else? Secondly, you're probably more likely to destroy your immune system sharing those links about 5G and being terrified of coronavirus than you'll ever be with 5G existing. Your terror of this stuff will suppress your immune system and kill you, or let you get sick. Now, we're hearing this thing about Bill Gates and all these CEO of all these companies have stepped down. Well, and then people say, are they going to the bunkers or are they going on the run? And this nonsense, this bollocks about these sealed indictments. Let me tell you about these sealed indictments. They don't exist. They've never existed. They're a fantasy cultivated in the minds of right-wing Christians in the belief that there was going to be a mass roundup of pedophiles one day in power. This is all in your mind. This is all your delusional fantasies. There are no sealed indictments, and they're not running because there are sealed indictments against about to be opened, because they're all down a Podesta pizza or anything like that. I reckon a lot of them are. It's time. It's over. I'd say all these decisions were made independently, a changing of the guard. This is how it happens. This is how things do happen. They're not like piecemeal. Whenever there's been a big shift in society, it happens very quickly. And you would find that a lot of these are stepping down because their time is done. Something within them, within their DNA or in the zeitgeist said, it's time to go. And I think we're heading for a very different place. Now you look at an example of how quickly it changed. Last week, 2 weeks ago, you couldn't get away from Greta Thunberg. She doesn't exist now, and she'll never exist ever again. And I also believe that this climate change thing will probably never exist after this. It'll probably be tokenist at very best. It will not exist. Now, what I do gather, I do agree that governments are probably running some kind of programs with all these lockdowns and curfews, and so are also the likes of the Bilderbergs and the Council of Foreign Relations are all involved in this as well. At the same time, too, I think it's very casual. They don't really know what they're doing. I'm more and more inclined to believe what Alan Moore and Terence McKenna says, and Robert Anton Wilson, that ultimately in the end, there's no one in charge. They're all a bunch of organ grinding monkeys, and they respond to stimuli in a way. They're normies and what they call sheeple too at the top. They're also that. And you can say, oh, the Georgia Guidestones. Look, there's been if this was a mass virus killing people, the numbers are just not there. I ran a quiz yesterday on Facebook, and I said, do you know anyone who has it? Or any personally, not a celebrity and not a politician's wife, but someone you personally know and not a friend of a friend. I would say 95 to 98% of the people said, no, I know no one. This included people who work in paramedics, people who work in hospitals. They have not met anyone who has coronavirus. There was, of course, one lunatic who came in and said he had it. Where you tested, no, that's, immediately blocked. That's just someone pretending, looking for attention. A flat earther, of course. And everyone else, no, down. And I said at the end, you're more likely to have heard Nickelback's new record than get coronavirus. That's how bad it is. Now, it's hype. It's hyped out of control. I'm not afraid of the virus, although I'm probably in the high risk margin for it. Having, not the best lungs in the world. Not bothered by it really, just taking normal precautions and getting on with life. It's a great, terrible tragedy that older people are going to die because of it. Older people die because of the flu and the colds. There's nothing new here. And one baby was diagnosed with it, but children don't seem to get it. Including one woman on my yesterday, on that Facebook thread, whose daughter is in China and knows no one who has coronavirus. Now what about that? So the media are loving this. This is they absolutely love this stuff. Now there's the fear junkies who are jumping on it, trying to make it all afraid about the alternative media, and they're as bad and irresponsible as the ones in the mainstream. I would ignore them. I always tell you to ignore them anyway. The thing is with this whole thing now is like look to the future. This is look to the future. You're going to see things very different in a couple of years from now, and they will start now. I would even go as far as saying we're on the cusp of a third renaissance. We're on the cusp of a second renaissance. Well, a third great stage of paganism. You're going to see a collapse of the monotheistic religions, particularly Christianity, will be wiped out. The Catholic Church knows its days are over, but all Christianity is doomed. Islam will lose its zeal or its jihadiness, whatever you want to call it, and so on. I think we will see people less susceptible to being controlled. I mean, this really is the ice bucket challenge for hypochondriacs, and people will be less likely to be controlled. More, I'm amazed and delighted about the cynicism out there. The Irish government issued a release this morning saying they're going to have to take measures to stop people from gathering in groups. Irish people are going out and going nuts. Now, there's another thing I've seen, and I don't think it's a good thing. And everyone's showing videos of Italian people, and God bless the Italians, they're wonderful people, but the Italian people singing to one another across their balconies. Oh, isn't this lovely? No, it's like prisoners in the cell box talking, having conversations down the corridors. It's not lovely. It's being used by the media to condition you to believe that, well, even if you're locked up in your little box for the rest of your life, you can sing, Santa Lucia to your neighbours across the street. I don't like this at all. I find out kind of very sinister, to be honest with you. I think the best thing of all, the control grid loves stuff like that. The best thing of all is to use the funny memes. They're just never ending, and just enjoy that part of it. You're more in danger of lunatics overreacting to this than you are by the actual virus itself. I'm convinced of that now. The toilet paper thing is very interesting, as a friend of mine brought up as a strong Freudian notion there. People are literally shitting themselves, and they're returning to the anus, and the anus is where they're returning. That's of all the things that are short, what do they go for? Or that they're out, and the products that are out there, toilet paper. This is a very powerful anal retentive thing. They're symbolically trying to cleanse themselves. This is another sign of the delayed 2012 effect, is that they're trying to wipe the arsehole that is themselves out of themselves. It's like someone who has been traumatized will often have frantic hand washing. This is why after a decade you're still following me on here, because I'll never be famous, I'll never be really successful. I'll always lag behind all these truth gurus and all these other people who fill the shit out there. I'll always reject the mainstream, but I'll never lie to you when it comes to this stuff. You'll get my. I don't want you to follow me because I'm telling you what I think you want to hear. I don't do the sensationalism. What I do is looking at it, and that's how you should be. That's how you should be. Just look at observation. The world is an aquarium. It's a tank full of people, and tank full of situations, and a tank full of inclinations, fears, phobias, and you observe them as they take place in real time. The psychic weather can be read by all of us. These auguries of the damned, the NPCs and the normies running around, are the best indicator you'll ever get on how to live your life. Essentially, how a normie or an NPC acts, do the reverse. Do the reverse. So if they're all frantically buying toilet paper, go look for something else. Don't join in. Look at Black Friday. We know what these motherfuckers are like. The NPC, the normie, it's the dance of the damned, the other direction you go. So 2020 is very powerful in this sense. Even people who were not woken up before this are watching these riots over toilet papers. Oh, I mean, you can say it's Australian, it's all over the world now, so no one's immune to it. And they're looking at them and saying, there's something wrong with people. And these would have been people who would have been on the normie end of things. They wouldn't be NPCs, because NPCs don't wake up. But they would have been on the normie end of things. And they're like, this is not right. There's something not right with this. This is the Great Awakening. There's, the normies are saying things like, well, I don't know anyone that has it, and I'm only finding out that old people have. Why the government locking us all up if it's just like a flu or a cold? This is the Great Awakening. What the governments and the corporations and the globalist think tanks wanted by now was mass hysteria. And we haven't really got it on other than beyond toilet papers. And you're as much likely to see a video of someone like that one, someone's digging a trench to plant things, and they're planting toilet paper rolls. And there's another one, a cute one I saw today, where one was toilet rolls were all dressed up in fancy papers like Martha Stewart style, and there was now my Christmas presents assorted. And you're much more likely to see there's an awakening happening here, a real awakening. And if you're caught up in if you're sitting there, 2020, it's a virus, it's a mind control scam. Well, on a level, of course it is. It's about the globalist controlling. Yes, it is. But why are they doing this? Here's the fundamental thing, right? How many of you have ever been in an abusive relationship, right? The relationship has a level of, what's the word? Underlying tension and abuse and control, right? Like that. As soon as the abuser figures out that you might have a chance to leave or you might run, they ramp the abuse up like that and the control up. You better not take that job. You better have my dinner on the table by 6 o'clock. You better not hang out with those women or I'll fucking thump you. Oh, they're all sluts and you'll end up like them. You're my woman. You do what I tell you. It always ramps up when they're losing control. Well, that's what's happening right now. The globalists are losing control. This is why the likes of Bill Gates and the rest of them are stepping down. They're running to their bunkers. They're running to their bunkers not like this, we survive. They're running to their bunkers like this. Oh no, we fucking lost everything. Look at Bill Gates, for example. What was that whole education program he had, where he had these fucked up versions of mathematics and all these things? I forget what it's called. It's been got so long away now. He was going to change the education of the world. Look at him now. Look at him now. Who's in charge? People like Donald Trump, the antithesis of all these globalists. Now you can sit there and say he's a globalist too and he's putting lockdowns in charge. He is responsible for the health and safety of the United States, and he's getting information from his own government sources. And if they're saying to him, look, we have to watch this virus, he's doing what he's supposed to do. Now it's amazing. He tested and he doesn't have the coronavirus. You're now going to have all these liberals all demanding that they get the coronavirus. You see, and this is another thing. I saw this ridiculous post a friend of mine shared from Stephen King. I love Stephen King. And it's like, his Trump derangement syndrome is psychotic. He's actually become more of a character in one of his films than he is, and than he's ever created. And he was saying, Trump's coronavirus panel is all white men. Like the worst kind of ridiculous. Like if an ambulance comes to you and you're bleeding your guts out, if it's 4 white guys, will Stephen King say, I'm refusing treatment from you paramedics because there's no woman and no people of colour? This is all going to end. All that shite is going to end. You're going to see an end of all that. And we'll truly come around to what Martin Luther King said, that a person will be judged by the quality of their character and not by the colour of their skin. Ironically, liberals judge everyone by the colour of their skin or their religion. That's the complete opposite of what Martin Luther King wanted. He wanted people judged according to their personality and their character as a human being. We're going to get closer to that. A lot of these SJWs you're not even hearing about them now, are you? It's amazing, isn't it, how quickly things have changed? 3 months ago, SJWs, purple-haired freaks, Greta Thunberg, politicians fawning over her, and here we are. And not that long later, only a couple of weeks, and you're living in a completely different world. Now, I wish my Rosa Korea would go. That's the only thing I'm pissed off about. But you are living in a completely different world. It's a hell of a lot more interesting, isn't it now? When you look on it this way, suddenly you're not afraid of the viruses. Suddenly you're not afraid of, lockdowns and stuff like that. You're developing the sense of an observer, an observationist viewpoint, where you're looking around and you're saying to yourself, Now, a lot of things are going to happen. Our relationships are going to fall apart. Marriages are going to fall apart. All kinds of things, loads of suicides, loads of weird stuff like that. But that always happens at the beginning of a renaissance. It's the old dead wood has to be removed. It has to go. And that includes the dead wood within you, all your hang-ups, the bullshit about you. You have to cast that away too. Otherwise, you're going to miss the boat going forward. You're going to miss the boat going forward. And it's it makes me, I'm feeling kind of positive about it. I'm not bothered at all. I mean, I could get coronavirus tomorrow and drop dead. So what? The world still goes on. I'll be reincarnated somewhere else, just like a Genesis P origin will be reincarnated somewhere else as well. It's just how it works. And so what? So what? It's it's the age of Saturn in many ways. Now, again, another one, all the truth has been going, Saturn and Satan. No, Saturn and Satan will do each other. Saturn is the harvester of the remover of the dead weight and the return of the new life. And we're very much in that. I saw a beautiful picture of Saturn this morning. In fact, I'm going to use it as a thumbnail for this. And this there's so much to be taken in right now to begin yourself for the future. How on a societal macro level will this unfold? Well, I'll tell you. You're going to see, businesses are morons. They're retarded, right? So you're going to see businesses doing things like, instead of going eternally for the profit and the bottom line margin by moving everything to China, you're going to say it probably is a bad idea to have everything made in one place. The penny will drop on that. And we'll probably see a rise in the price of, you know, consumer goods. But, so what? Who needs stuff from Wish, you know? Who needs a tiger print dildo from Wish that badly? You know what I'm saying? And you're going to see a lot less frivolous spending and a lot more intelligent spending. A lot more things that people will gravitate towards that will bring meaning to their lives. You'll see. I mean, we've already seen things like that. You saw that with the return of vinyls. It was something tangible and something that generates emotion, rather than a digital download or something that has no incorporeal sense of worth to it. Where a record, you hear the sound streaming from a 12-inch piece of vinyl and holding the art. You're going to see a lot more things like that. You'll see a resurgence in books, and away from things like, you'll see things moving, people moving more into things of value that they're already happening and learning it right now. They're being trained, and maybe on some level, if this morphic resonance has an effect on a social level, it's teaching people things like, well, instead of buying everything you need, you want, just buy everything you need. And the vulnerability of life. I mean, I prep, so I have a month worth of stuff. I always have a month worth of stuff. Prep. In fact, I'll tell you something. When I began prepping back in 2008, and this is kind of sad now, I was afraid to tell my normie friends and my friends around me that I was prepping, because they would laugh at me and call me a survival nut. And those people have been proven to be completely right. Now, there are obsessive preppers, like the Barry Drumore types who are just ridiculous. They'll stockpile masses of ammunition, stuff like that. And then there's the sensible prepper who just keeps things to have a long-term storage, like cheese and honey, and the likes of that, and has provisions to contingency in case they need things or anything. I mean, toilet paper, you clean your ass with a wet rag and you wash it under the tap, or in a basin of water, just like our ancestors did for centuries. Rather than stockpiling the shit, and then depriving elderly people of it and things like that. If you're old and you're dying, you're old and you're dying. That's what happens when you're old. You begin dying, and that's just how life is. And the young will be born. And this is 2012. This is it. I'm convinced of it. Everything that was, I said it last year, that 2020 would be, and I know a lot of people like big life changes as well. They're moving, they're emigrating, and all these kinds of other things. 20, this is it. This is the Renaissance. It's coming back. You're going to find in a year from now, we'll look back at this, and people will be thinking, do you remember that time we had the scare, the coronavirus, the ice bucket challenge for hypochondriacs, and they were like, yeah. It's kind of funny, but it's kind of weird. But I learned a lot from it, and that's how knowledge is created. It's like the squeaky wheel syndrome. Personal enlightenment and knowledge is brought about by darkness, by anxieties and fears, you not by imagining beings of light, as Carl Jung said. They come about by this. And so this is, rather than you reading every fucking 5G cause see COVID-19 truth or article and web and video you can get your hands on, sit back, rationalize, and think to yourself, what's in it for me? What am I learning from all this? Well, I've learned, for one thing, that the masses are more screwed up than we ever thought. The toilet paper thing has proven that there's something profound. See, also the toilet paper and the anus is near the sexual organs, all that gender weird stuff we had in the last few years. That they're focused on the lower chakras, as the Hindus and the Buddhists would say it. They're focused on the lower poles of themselves, and this comes as a direct result of having no value in life. So if you went out and stockpiled toilet paper, you think to yourself, why did I do that? Did I do it because everyone else was doing it? Or is there something not quite functioning properly within my psychology that leads me to this? My friend in Italy, who's been locked up for ages, said something like, you find out who the animals are around in your neighborhood when you have this. So then you'll find out who the scumbags are, and also who the saints are, who the lovely ones are. But it's like, without any debate or anything, 200 years of democracy has been discarded just because of a virus that may or may not be deadly on a mass scale. And people willingly accepted it. But lots accepted it but saw through it. Rather than, they didn't go down to City Hall to burn it, they posted memes. And this is why we live in the age of chaos, magic, and the meme. And the power and the glory of the meme. This is our way of fighting back. And you can sit there being as conspiratorial as you are, and it could be true and it could not be true, but it doesn't change your life. You see, I'm probably the only person in this alternative media scene that doesn't have a Christian viewpoint. A Christian viewpoint in believing that salvation is coming. I was telling you, there were never going to be arrests of the 9/11 criminals. There was never going to be sealed indictments. They don't exist. There was never going to be an uprising by the people against the elites. WikiLeaks would lead to nothing. If he was telling the truth, they'd kill him off. If he was, Edward Snowden would lead to nothing. I took huge amounts of shit 6 years ago for pointing out that Russell Brand was the biggest load of shit, deliberately making himself look like Jesus Christ so you would follow him. And on, and on, and on, and on. And I'll keep on doing this until the day I drop dead. Look after yourself. Don't be waiting for your version of a Christian savior to come and save you. It will not come. And that's what things like a beam from galactic center or shifts in the Schumann resonance, they're all the same thing. They're not. You don't get salvation. What you get are opportunities. You get opportunities. A relationship breaking up is an opportunity. A loss of a job is an opportunity. A coronavirus mass hypochondriatic media lockdown bullshit thing is an opportunity. They're either, you can rise to the challenges and defeat them. Incorporate new ways of thinking, new processes and new methods into yourself. But my God, the gifts are there if you want them. If you want to sit there all day reading about how 5G is frying the pubic hairs off your ass, off your balls and off your ass hairs. You can do that, but won't achieve anything. You can sit there all day long doing that. What does that achieve? Nothing. Oh, well, if I share this article on social media, the masses will wake up and the elites will be taken down. No, that won't happen. You'll waste your life. You'll be in fear and you'll reduce your immune system. The answer is very simple. Look at what's happening and say, what's in it for me? Not in a selfish way, but in a way for you to grow, develop yourself as a person, as your skills, and most important of all, what many people are finding out right now, what it means really to be alive. Quarantine and chill.